The history of golf in the south suburbs is intimately twined with the Illinois Central Railroad. It's basically because of the railroad that these clubs exist.
What makes the Southland special historically, I believe, is when you go back in history and how the courses were built here. It was a company in Chicago, I think it was called the Standard Company, and they were all industry titans, and they wanted to build courses away from the city, accessible by train. They ended up building 5 courses that they could get on the train, leave the city, come out here and play these 5 courses: Calumet Country Club, Ravenslow Country Club, Flossmoor Country Club, Olympia Fields Country Club, and Idlewild. And they became known as the 5 Sisters. I don't know how they got the name of the 5 Sisters, but they did.
The reason Flossmoor Country Club, the initial of the 5 Sisters or whatever we want to call them, is where it is because if you look at the map, Flossmoor is halfway between downtown Chicago and the steel mills in Gary, Indiana. And it was built as a summer community for basically the steel executives, U.S. Steel, Bethlehem, Inland.
In addition to coming out here to golf, many built summer homes out here. So the man of the house, the businessman, might commute back and forth or might stay in the city during the week, but his family stayed out here during the week, during the summertime. The 4th club that opened in our area was actually the Olympia Fields Country Club, which was organized, I believe, in 1915, and actually became, or was touted as, the world's largest country club at one time.
Well, what's unique about Olympia Fields is really how it was started. Back in 1915, 5 businessmen from downtown Chicago decided that they wanted to find some property out in the country where they could establish a large club, and the goal was to have a club where people from downtown Chicago could go to recreate on weekends and in the summer. The Metra train stop was established immediately after the club was built, and the first president of the club was Amos Alonzo Stagg, the famous football coach from the University of Chicago. He was also a track and field Olympic coach.
A lot of notable people have been members at Flossmoor. I don't know the exact number, 6 or 7 Nobel Prize winners, and they're all from University of Chicago. A lot of the professors from University of Chicago live in Flossmoor because of well, I still call it the IC, it's the Metra, and because they can travel on the train to 55th Street, and you're right there on campus.
Even today, people from the city take the train to come out here and golf. We offer a service here at Ravenslow. We pick golfers up, they call us, tell us what time and what their train's coming in, we pick them up, and their clubs bring them in here, take them back when the round's over.
The club has always had a big downtown element, which we still do. 90% of our members live over 40 minutes from the club. We also have a large national membership, over 120 national members. These are people that live over 150 miles from the club. We have members from probably 25 states.
It's how these communities started because of the golf courses. I mean, so at one time, the golf courses were the draw to come to the Southland area.
Although these clubs were private, there wasn't a lot of interface between the local community and the country club. The average resident wasn't coming over here for parties and things like this because these were private clubs. Probably after World War II, with the suburbanization of this, the greater suburbanization of this area, where more people moved in, and probably more people moved into Flossmoor because they were more affluent people. I think that's probably where you saw the local resident also being, the member of the club. So there was, they didn't have to travel, they just drove to the club and spent their day there.
And my family joined Flossmoor Country Club in 1968 or 69, I'm not sure. Having started there as a toddler, and then playing competitive golf as a teenager through high school, and then as an adult, then as a parent. There's a million memories, but my fondest memory was being a kid in a simple time, getting on my bike with my two best friends that we all lived next door to each other, riding over there at 8 o'clock in the morning, and we'd go to the swimming pool and swim, and then go hit golf balls and practice and go play, and then play in the afternoon. It was what we did every day.
Playing golf for Homewood Flossmoor High School was an honor. We were real respected in the entire sports community of golf. You know, we've got kids that grew up on the best country clubs here in the world. And so we were respected, and they knew that we were coming to win. With the rich history of golf at Homewood Flossmoor, I mean, I can't name probably too many high schools that have that rich history.
You know, one of the things in the past is, you know, we were very cliquish. Jews weren't allowed in some of these clubs. You know, Catholics weren't allowed in some of them. Blacks certainly weren't allowed. Today that thankfully is different.
The most difficult thing to me growing up in terms of acceptance is driving past these beautiful golf courses every day and only being able to look over the gate. Idlewild, Flossmoor, Olympia, Ravenslow. Heck, I got kicked off of Flossmoor as a high school player because they didn't allow people of color. And playing Idlewild and Ravenslow and Olympia was just highly out of the question. You didn't even ask.
I know what a privilege it was to grow up in Flossmoor and to have that. You know, when you're 8 or 9 years old, that doesn't really sink in. And it was a simple time.
You know, perhaps maybe the unfortunate thing is some of these clubs might be maybe suffering economically now. So they've transitioned several of them from being completely private country clubs to public clubs. So the dynamic of who's the member doesn't exist anymore. It's open to everybody.
For me, as a black woman, I believe my being a woman is probably seen first, and that initial intimidation being in an all-male space is palpable. You can feel it.
You know, right now the two really still private clubs out of the main 5 are Olympia Fields, which I probably don't see that changing for hopefully a long while, and Idlewild, which I think is still doing quite well.
So our club, you know, started in 1915. Obviously back in those days, in the private country club world, it was a white male dominated group. Over time, women became more interested in the game of golf.
Yeah, from what I've seen is we're getting more and more diverse, especially with ladies. There's a huge uptick of ladies coming in the last couple of years. They see it as social, joining leagues. They like to be with each other, and that's the one sport that they can do right now where you can keep your distance, have fun, you're outdoors.
So in the past 5 to 7 years, we've really seen a great increase in golf for women and women of color especially. What we're finding is as women of color want to become more active.
We Play Too is an organization for ladies of color, just diversity and inclusion. We want to bring more ladies into the game. We want to equip women with a space and a place to relax. Just want to be an avenue where ladies can just enjoy themselves.
So we review the course from the parking lot to the clubhouse. We look at certain holes on the golf course. Are they isolated? These are things that people who have the privilege of not fearing for their safety don't think about. So this is a golfing community put together so that we can find each other, because as women we have a lot of responsibilities. We work, we have families, and we have to get our golf in after 5.
The moms, of course, have the toughest job because they have to run the house, and they have to, a lot of times, take care of the kids as well. So
anybody with kids or married knows it's tough in today's world. Mom and dad work. You know, if I walked in and said to my wife on Saturday morning, I said, I'm playing golf, I'll see you at 3 o'clock. She'd look at me like, oh, really?
We're seeing a lot of golf clubs, you know, guys, you know, men and women that don't want to, you know, join a country club, exclusive, and pay the monthly dues and that kind of thing. They will opt out to these clubs where they have a variety of courses to play.
I see a lot of young men, young single men playing. Guys from the city. They, you know, they're young, they're making a few bucks, they want to go out and play, and I think that's what I see when I go over there. These 24-year-old whippersnappers that, you know, aren't married, don't have kids, and have time. I think what's unique about Flossmoor is that I believe it's the first of the golf courses in the area, Southland area. And what I think is unique for a golf course that was built in 1899 and is basically, there's been renovations, but is basically the same footprint, is how genius the architect was in designing the golf course. In that it's a tale of two nines. The front nine is a prairie nine that we like to describe it, and the back nine is a hillside nine with a lot more topography.
Ravenslow is a classic golf course built before 1960, primarily designed by Donald Ross in 1916. He was here for 4 years and put the final touches on the golf course. We get a lot of people that are coming here from all over, and they're coming here because they want to play a Donald Ross course that was built, you know, back in the early 1900s. But if I had to kind of sum it up, I would say it's short but sweet.
Well, my favorite hole at Olympia, remember we have two golf courses at Olympia Fields, the north and the south. The north is our championship course. It was designed by a two-time British Open champion named Willie Park Jr. He was a pretty significant architect in the early part of the century. And my favorite hole would be number 14. It's a very difficult par 4. It faces due north. It has a very elevated tee. You hit way down, about a 30-foot drop into the fairway, but you hit over a creek, and then the creek goes all the way down. It goes in front of the tee, and then it curves and goes all the way down the right side of the fairway. And then about 280 yards out from the tee is the creek again, cutting across the fairway, and a large berm is part of that creek. So you have to hit your tee shot to a narrow fairway that has a creek on one side, a lot of trees on the other side, and then your second shot is roughly 170 yards uphill over the barranca to a very steep, challenging green.
As far as what's special about Coyote Run, Greg Martin, our designer, has developed wide open landing areas. So it gives the player who may be a higher handicap, gives them an opportunity to hit the ball off the tee, find it, hit the ball into the greens.
My favorite hole is at Coyote Run, hole number 6. There's water first to the left of you and then a little further down. It's challenging because you got to get across the first water, and then more than likely you want to lay up and then hit over the next water. So you want to be on in 3. I've done it in 2, but it is a challenging hole.
My favorite hole at Ravenslow is number 15. It's the last par 3 on the course. It's a fairly short hole, 149 yards, but the hole changes every hour of the day, and that's why it's my favorite. It has a creek meandering in front of it that bisects the tee to the green. We also have a special trap on the back left portion off the green. We all call it Otis. The reason the hole is called Otis is because it's the deepest bunker on the golf course, and we say you need an elevator to get down into the bunker.
So we attract very golf-centric people. You know, a lot of people want to be part of a club that has the championship culture. So when you look at a golf course, who are the champions? And when you look at the champions of Olympia, they're all pretty much Hall of Fame golfers.
So yeah, when COVID-19 hit, you know, obviously it was devastating to the whole world, and everybody's life was affected by it, and industries were affected by it, restaurants and everything else. But and we weren't sure where we would be with the golf industry. And so there's a lot of restrictions. And then June we opened up, and it was we had more rounds than ever at Ravislow. Not only Ravislow, but countrywide, golf has seen a huge boom the last year, which is amazing.
I guess maybe in June we got to phase 3 maybe of the state rollout plan. The only thing you could do was play golf.
Golf's been the only business that's been thriving during the COVID pandemic. You know, we've got more people playing golf, people looking for more activities. Physical activity and green space. I mean, what's wrong with nature?
So Coyote Run, as a part of the Homewood-Flossmoor Park District, was developed to have that parkland feel. Open spaces, nature involved, native plantings.
Serene. The green spaces in the community are just so serene. If you've ever been out on a golf course and just saw a bird just soaring through, water on the side, sometimes birds just come in and land on the water and glide through, deer in the background. It's an awesome, very serene place, especially if you love nature.
Green space is important. Preserving the green space is important to preserve the aesthetic of your community. We don't need Targets, we don't need big box stores on every corner. We need to enjoy our environment. We need to enjoy parts of the community that actually function to bring us together. Golf courses as that green space are one of those components that make a community vibrant, and we need to save them.
I'm sure as any of these people intimately involved with the clubs will tell you, it's expensive to, you know, to run them and maintain them, and you know, it takes that golf base to continue to use them, and we're just going to have to see. Hopefully, with, you know, we've had golf in this area here, for over 120 some years, so hopefully we can weather these storms and continue to be a major golfing center, particularly in the Chicago area, and recognized nationally.